The Preston and Down Beach Current were notified of this meeting. Copy of same was posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building. We just take a second, turn off all electronic equipment, and we're going to stand for the flag salute. Attention, salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Tom, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Becker?
Here.
Mr. Blumberg?
Here.
Ms. Taube?
Here.
Before we get into department reports, we've got a past due report. Jim Galantino there has a report and also something else to report on that's kind of pleasant. Jim, you want to?
Yes, good afternoon, Mayor. I would like to bring your attention to our activity for the building department from 2013. We've processed a total of $528,000 in permit revenue, which is far exceeds the $450 we did last year. And this is not even including the month of December. This only takes us into the end of November. We turn permits out in an average of 2 weeks. We process 125 permits per month. As some type of perspective to another town, like let's say EHT, Ventnor, they take roughly 3 weeks to process about half the amount of those permits. Ocean City is about 4 weeks, and they processed about 60 permits. One thing I forgot to note on the amount of money that the city took in was that we waived $200,000 worth of permits in 2013. So if you do the numbers, this would have been one of the craziest years we've ever had, and yet we're still well within the boundaries of the state, which is 20 working days to issue a building permit for new construction. 20 working days is almost equal to, it's 4 weeks. So that's quite a bit of time that you can process a permit. But we do it in half the time with double the amount of work that's coming out. We do an average of roughly 30 inspections a week with all our inspectors. And that's two days, 3 inspectors working full days. I work 5 days, and I do roughly 30 to 40 inspections a week. So we don't have any complaints from any contractors in our office to the state about a permit being held up or a permit not being processed or a permit that hasn't been issued. That's all that.
Okay.
Do you have any questions about that?
Thank you, Jim.
And the other thing is, can we present...
You have something pleasant to tell us?
Yeah, we have a plaque.
We do.
That's it. That's what you're getting. This is the surprise retirement.
This is Roger's resignation plaque. Here, Roger. The City of Margate has now been officially approved for a Class 5. We talked about this summer a little bit, but they gave us a plaque at the CL event, which was yesterday. We had a lot of people who were in attendance, and this is pretty special. This is almost like an Academy Award. So you want to do a speech, Roger?
No, good work.
That's it. That's all I have.
Good work,
Okay.
Jim.
Good job, Jim. Thank you. Real proud of all of you people who participated in that. It's a good plaudit for the city, for all of us working together to get things done.
Mayor,
Yes.
both Jim and Lisa should be commended for that. Lisa was the CPR or CRS representative. Jim is now. I'm advised that we may, I believe there are less than 10 municipalities in the state that are a Class 5 or better. I think we're at the top class. Is that correct, Jim?
That's correct, Rich. Yes, thanks for telling me that. Yes.
So there's less than 10 in the state that
There's
are
less-
at the class that we're at or better.
There's less than 10, and we're one of the top ranked
We're-
with that 10.
Thank you. And that means, what's the percentage of
25,
25%?
25% discount.
That's a big discount now. We're talking about people with $2,000 and $3,000 and $4,000 flood insurance, and you're getting 25% discount based on the work that staff people and boards, planning boards and zoning boards and commission have done over the last 5 to 10 years. So that's a great achievement for Margate. It's not to be taken lightly at all. So great work.
Okay,
Thank you. Thank you, Lisa, and thank you, Jim.
thank you, guys. Okay. Chief, you're next.
Thank you, Mayor. On the agenda at the 5 o'clock meeting, you'll see a resolution for the approval for the purchase of 28 active shooter kits utilizing Law Enforcement Trust Fund money, which is actually forfeiture money that I got approval from the Atlantic County Prosecutor's Office to utilize for this purchase. The catalyst behind this purchase is the law enforcement response has changed regarding active shooter incidents throughout the country, and we've seen a rise in this. What these kits will do is allow our officers to have an additional level of protection against high-power handguns and rifle and shotgun rounds in case we have to ever respond to that. So that's my recommendation. I hope you'll approve it.
Thank
That's
you,
it.
Chief. Seeing there's nothing else on the agenda, Chief, do you have anything else to report? We'll start over here and work around.
We're gearing up for our holiday traffic campaign, and we'll have people out there doing extra details and, just trying to keep everybody safe through the holiday season. And just happy holidays to everybody.
Thank you, Chief. Maureen?
No, everything's good. We wrapped up our last court session last week in Longport, so we're looking forward to the new year. I'd like to wish everybody a happy holiday and a great 2014.
Thank you. Jim, do you have anything else? Roger?
Nothing, we're just busy. In the last 3 days, I sent 7 new houses to Jimmy's office, 2 of which were duplexes, so the building boom continues. And happy Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to everybody, and stay well.
Tom?
No, everything's great right now.
Okay. Scott, do you have anything?
Very quickly, Mayor, a couple items. You recall last summer you authorized me to file an objection to Comcast's proposal to shut down the on-island office that they had located in Ventnor Heights. I did receive finally a response from Comcast about 2 weeks ago. It's all to the Public Utilities Board, and we're waiting to see what they say. But our position was that it would inconvenience the residents of Margate, that they would have to go to, I believe it's Absecon, if they wanted to pick up a new box or trade in or that equipment issue. And we thought that was just too far. I believe they're also closing Ocean Cities. That's what I heard, but I'm not worried about that one. I'm just worried about the one that services Absecon Island. So we are on that one. Rumsden Avenue, we're moving forward with that new bulkhead, I think. Ed is on top of that. That's a real good achievement. That'll be built at the new elevation of 13, North American Vertical Datum. Vendome Avenue, as you're probably aware, we have basically a derelict home. We're moving forward. There's a substantial mortgage in arrears on that. We're going to end up going through a due process of allowing the lender as well to intercede. We have to advertise and give them the opportunity to have a hearing. Not advertise, but give them notice. And we do that because we want to have priority. It's about a $30,000 demolition cost to tear this house down. It's on the water. And if you don't do it exactly correctly, a lender can supersede the lien. You have to give them what's called due process and the right to step in and protect their collateral. I don't think they will, but we have to do it, because if we don't, I'm sure we won't get paid. So we're going to try to get our money, all of our money back when that gets demolished. Quincy Avenue, you know there's been a number of discussions with regard to that beach front-facing lot. The latest, and I think maybe you saw in my letter, that the prospective buyer doesn't want to have ownership of the bulkhead. That was a critical part of this effort to sell these parcels, and I'm awaiting the response. I notified them approximately 2 weeks ago that you, as a body, wanted the bulkhead replaced and the responsibility of the owner if they acquire that land, just like Rumsden Avenue. Haven't heard back from them yet, just trying to update you. That's what I have, Mayor. That's it.
I have a question, Scott. The demo of the house on Vendome?
Yes.
What would be a time frame for that? Do you have any idea?
Well, I'm going to try to schedule I have to give them, I believe, 30 days' notice is reasonable by the end of January. If they don't appear or offer a plan to salvage this house that's partially constructed over water, we would be able to have a pretty strong argument that our demolition lien would be in priority to their mortgage, which is in default. They're in the process, they may be in the process of foreclosing. We will give them their notice. They can protect their collateral if they want it.
Okay. Thank you, Scott.
You're welcome, Mayor.
Rich, do you have anything?
I have nothing more at this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Rich. Lisa?
Hi, good afternoon. On today's agenda, there's two resolutions pertaining to the capital fund, both of which will add additional funds to the capital surplus balance. The first one is for prior improvement authorizations that were authorized and that were funded, of which the projects have been completed. And there's a balance remaining in those items of approximately $30,000, which will be going to surplus. The other resolution is pertaining to reserves that were established regarding some of our debt service for Green Acres loans and environmental trust loans that have been sitting there. So they are going to be canceled at the 5 o'clock meeting. And that will be an additional $17,549 going into capital surplus. We had the sale of our special emergency notes. As you know, we had issued notes this time last year for $3,750,000, and we are required to pay them down 1/5 each year for 5 years. So we are rolling over $3 million. We had some excellent results, actually much better than I had anticipated, and actually better than what our bond counsel and financial advisor had anticipated as well, because you tend not to get as good a rate on the special emergency notes as you would on the bond anticipation notes or other types. And we had 5 bidders. The successful bidder was Jeffries and Company with a coupon rate of 1%. We received a premium of $9,062, which brought the net interest rate to 0.697%. Currently, the note is being held at Ocean City Home Bank at a rate of 0.9%, and they declined to bid. So those are excellent results. We're going to be closing on the note on Monday, and the funds will be wired into our account. Just so you know, the 1/5 payment that was due this year, it was included in our budget, the $750,000, and the funds that were received from FEMA were utilized to pay down that portion of the debt. So we anticipate still receiving additional funds from FEMA going forward that will be earmarked to pay off the future balance on that. The IRS has changed rules regarding the flexible spending account. As you know, the city implemented a flexible spending account a few years back. Currently, we only have 2 employees participating, and I think that's largely due in part to the rules that were in effect up until this change, where if you did have a balance remaining, it was like a use it or lose it. So employees were a little bit hesitant because they didn't want to lose any of their money. Now the IRS has made a change, and employers have the option of either of doing nothing and leaving it as is, allowing a grace period where if you have a balance remaining, you have an additional 2.5 months into the following year to spend your money, or you can opt to carry over up to $500 to the following year, and you would have the full year to pay that. It's my recommendation, after reviewing the documents and speaking with the representatives, that we should allow a carryover of $500, because I think that would allow employees more flexibility to do so. So if If you decide to do so, with your authorization, I will contact our representative and have the proper documents prepared. I think it would be a great thing for employees, hopefully encourage additional participation in the future.
I'm okay with that.
Is that okay? Okay.
Brenda?
You're welcome.
Maury? Do you need any official action?
Yeah, we'll prepare, we have to do an amendment, and then next meeting, we'll
That's good.
have that on the agenda. So I'll see what documents are
That's cool.
needed, probably another resolution as well to make the change. Let me see. Every 2 years, we're required by the JIF and the MEL to update our employment practice liability program. The last time it was done was in 2012, so we're due for 2014 and 15. And part of the requirement is to update our policy and procedure manual. By doing this by being in compliance and agreeing to their policy, we're afforded better deductibles and co-insurance, and also have the option of a deductible buy-down, which we took advantage of this year and was able to save a few $1,000s. So I have the information here. It's my understanding that we hired somebody to review the employee manual, so I could, at your instruction, I will forward this information to them. There is a model form on the JIF's website to use if they want to use that.
I think Rich is working with Vanessa James
Why
on
don't you deal
that.
with Rich?
Okay, I'll give it, because they're also incorporating some of the best practices recommendations issued by the State Controller's Office. So I'll give that to Rich. Have a first draft of our budget for 2014, which is very early this year, and I'm very happy about that. At first glance, these numbers are not final. We still have to, fine-tune everything. As it stands right now, there's a 1.2 cent increase to the local tax rate, but I think that we shouldn't have any problem being able to get that down and have a zero increase for local taxes. If anybody has anything else that they need to add or send me, please do so as soon as possible, and after the holiday, be meeting with individual departments, to discuss further their budget requests and needs. Let's see what else. I want to congratulate Jim on a good job getting Class 5. Good job. And Merry Christmas to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Do you, excuse me, Dan?
Thank you, Mayor. Just two things real quick. One, I just want to report on the fire department did respond to a small fire last Thursday on Jerome Avenue, and due to the quick actions of the members of Platoon 1, they were able to contain the fire just to the shed and keep it from spreading to the exposures. Thankfully, a neighbor reported it and gave us our time, in effect, to take care of that quickly. That neighbor was Lisa's husband, to be exact. Two, we had the lunch with Santa over the weekend, and it was a successful event. And we want to thank the public for those who came out. It was a great time, and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
All right, thank you, Dan. Ed, are you talked out yet?
I have nothing else to add except Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everyone.
Thank you. Same to you, Ed. Maury?
Yeah, two things. I also want to thank the fire department for hosting the lunch with Santa the other day. The turnout was great. The pizza was almost as good as the turnout. The only thing was that this year's Santa was not up to par with certainly last year's Santa or the Santa in prior years. But it really is a nice thing that the fire department does for the kids in the city, so thank you. And secondly, I just want to say that I was disappointed in the tone of the letter that we got from the governor's office, and I look forward to sending them a reply. That's all I have.
Thank you. Brenda?
in a commission-style government, when you want to talk about things, you have to bring them out in a public forum like this, and some of them are uncomfortable. And I know I've rocked the boat a little bit in Margate, but I feel like we need to be 100% accountable. So there's some concerns that I'm going to bring up. One is we have a resolution accepting the bids of 3 local businesses for advertising on our beach shacks. And only Roy Goldberg of Gem Hospitality, a.k.a. Junior's Captain Andy's, has paid. When contacted by Lisa, both other businesses said they didn't have a signed lease, yet their advertisements were on the shacks and even replaced at the expense of $3,300 because they were damaged by Sandy. Also relating to this is that we have nothing in writing at all about the advertisements on the lifeguard boat transoms or the lifeguard umbrellas. How long is the advertising contract for? Have we offered it to everyone or just a select few? How much do the lifeguard boats cost? This is information that should be in the daylight and available so we all know what we're getting, so that we all know we're getting a value for the advertising. Otherwise, why have it? If a member of the public wanted to advertise their business, we should have that information handy to provide them. Another concern I have is, I brought up at our last meeting, merit increases. I brought it up in hopes that the mayor and Commissioner Blumberg would think about it, and I welcome their thoughts, but I believe we should amend the existing salary ordinance or create another one that states that merit increases be brought forth publicly and voted on by the commission, needing a majority to vote to pass. In 2011, I gave an employee in recreation a merit increase under Public Works. Commissioner Blumberg gave 2 merit increases in 12 and 8 in 13. Mayor Becker gave none. My total was $3,000, and Commissioner Blumberg's was $27,551. At a previous meeting, I also brought up that we've contracted with Jersey Architectural Door and Supply, Inc., a family-owned business of Commissioner Blumberg's brother. I've learned that the city is not blocked from dealing with the company, but Commissioner Blumberg should not be voting on any contract or any payment of the company where he works, and especially if he has any ownership interest, which he states that he does not. I wondered if I should bring this up in executive session, but I was informed it wasn't necessary. It's not personal, but it's an observation that I feel I have a responsibility to point out. Our solicitor fees are really high, in my opinion. And when we brought in an outside solicitor, I thought it would save us money, and it really hasn't. And I'm going to share my examples with Rich that he can forward to the commission. Lastly, Mr. Sewell keeps bringing up nepotism, and we are working on that with our attorney on the policy and procedures manual. We actually do have a nepotism policy, which I think could be stronger because, in my opinion, we're not even adhering to that one. Regarding the advertising issue, we have to bring light to that, figure it out and make it right. I can't turn a blind eye to it. That doesn't help any of us at all. And Rich said he'll have a full report for us. I'm sorry to be negative, but again, it's the only place that you can bring things like this to light. And Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Ho, ho.
I know,
Okay. I would just like to take a second and wish everybody a very Merry Christmas, a very happy, healthy New Year, and we'll comment on some of these items a little bit later. And at this point, I will open up to public comment on anything that was discussed here today.
Sewell, 22 West Drive. Commissioner Talby might be interested in the model statutes and ordinances that I emailed to our city administrator, and avail herself of those. She can save on legal fees by reviewing them and perhaps utilizing them. However, merely addressing nepotism is only addressing a small sector or segment of the problems that plague the city. You also have to address patronage and cronyism and services provided during campaigns that are services in kind, and that they impact not only cost, but the ramifications from being done improperly. So therefore, you might want a more comprehensive than rather just addressing nepotism. Although the nepotism issue is extraordinarily serious, if you remember the situation with the school board and the attempt to violate the 1993 Federal Family Leave Act, it could have embroiled the city in a multi-million-dollar suit. Fortunately, there were enough citizens who were actually concerned to show up and force the board's hand not to make that appointment in contradiction to the 1993 federal law. Moving on to Commissioner Blumberg's statement and reference to that letter from Trenton, where Big Brother, our supersized rhino, decides he knows what's best for Margate. Someone should remind our obese friend that perhaps he should recall that New Jersey is strong on home rule. And one size will not fit all. Doesn't have to be dunes. It can be reinforced bulkheads. And my favorite, of course, is the master jetty at the end of Longport, which would give us between 2,400 and 3,000 feet of additional beach. And a beach acts as an underground dunes in a sense, because the storm has to wipe away that beach before it makes its way to the bulkhead.
15 seconds, John.
We'll use them most judiciously, Mayor.
Thank you, John.
Keep your shirt on. So I strongly urge the finance minister to be proactive, whereas the other two people seem to be somewhat comatose. Thank you very much.
Stephen Altman, 9003 Amherst Avenue, Margate. I have a question, Mr. Mayor. Do you have any idea when these meetings will convene in the original City Hall? Or is there any intent to move the meetings back where they were before Storm Sandy?
The building at City Hall is supposedly assured to be finished by the end of October? October 29th, is that correct?
We have until October 31st to get everything complete.
Okay, October 31st. The plan is to move back there for meetings.
Thank you, sir. May I have permission to ask Chief Wolfson a couple of questions about the a robbery that occurred by bicycle young men? I
Steve,
just am
it's
curious.
public comment, so
On a...
why don't you
Okay.
deal with, the chief will be happy to answer your question.
I just wanted to
think
know
it's
whether I needed a bulletproof vest to walk the streets.
Order 31, please.
I'll give him a call. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Anyone else?
Sharon Simon, 424 North Avenue. I'd like to thank Mayor Becker and Jim Galatino for doing the study in regards to the building department. I do think you may have misunderstood what I was asking. I was talking more and not in the terms of how long it took them to get their permit, but the fact that, as Mr. Galantino stated, we have such a big number of permits and we turn them around very quickly, and I'm curious if in Mr. Galantino's study, if he was asked to look at what kind of manpower they have in those other municipalities in terms of processing and in the work, the great women that work there, and if the same number of hours are basically the same. I think there's a tremendous amount of work, and a lot of times they have to stay late or they have to tell people to come back the next day. That was what I was referring to, but I appreciate the study. As far as Commissioner Tobey's list of all the quote-unquote corruption and overbilling hours and all the terrible things she's discovered, I just would like to comment on a couple of them. One, when the building department referendum came and it was defeated, she had CBA architects do work that was not permissible under the fact that the commission had already said to stop work because of the referendum, to the tune of $10,000, which I brought up with Mr. Deeney, and it was brought up with the accountants, and I don't need a comment from you. It's not. But it is true, it's in the thing. Also, all the legal fees, talk about legal fees, and the city clerk whistleblowing suit, and the numerous times in public you made comments against the clerk and had letters in the paper that just skyrocketed our legal expense. We're not even close to or have a settlement number, but I know we've spent hundreds of thousands in those legal fees. Thank you for that. And as far as doing what you're supposed to do, Oprah request, there was an Oprah request given to you, and you replied, as you have in the past, I'm sorry, my inbox was too full, and I deleted them all. And this is an important issue, the dunes, which is against Oprah. And if you don't know how to handle your computer, maybe your computer expert can show you. We all know how to make files. And so you're obligated to provide those documents. As far as the dunes, last we heard at the meeting that the Commissioner Martin had said he was willing to meet with Mayor Becker, and then we got this letter, and there's also rumor that you not only leaked the information to the press that Commissioner Martin was not happy about, but also had communications after the meeting that caused them to be so angry to cancel the meeting. So you've done a lot of work yourself, so start pointing the fingers to yourself. Thank you.
Thank you. Good timing. 3 minutes on the button. Anyone else?
Steve Warner, 103 North Sumner Avenue. Commissioner Taube, I was listening when you talked about the advertising on the beach. I Oprah'd the resolution, and I didn't hear exactly what you said, but from what I got from the Oprahs, the original resolution was in 2008, and there were 3 companies that were the successful bidders. There was Marketplace Realty, Dino Subs, and Roy Goldberg's company. I'm not sure the name of it. Juniors, okay. And the terms of the resolution were that the people were supposed to pay 20% April 1st of 2008, and then the balance like May 15th of 2008, and it was for a term of 3 years. And that was paid the first time it was paid. Now, when the 3 years was up in 2011, from what I can determine from what I Oprah'd, perhaps you can fill me in, only about $6,000, $7,000 was paid. And the balance has not been paid, or if it has been paid, is not to my, it wasn't given to me. So I'd like to know what the status of that additional fund was. Did the other people pay? I understand that Mr. Goldberg paid. That's what I was told, but I'm not sure. And what's the status with that money? And there was going to be, I guess, another bidding for the lifeguard, for the advertising. If these people haven't paid, then I think they should have to pay before they're allowed to advertise. And I'd just like an update on that. Do you know, or?
Steve, I don't know at this point, but I'll be happy to get it for you before the next meeting.
I mean, has that money been paid, or?
I don't know that.
Does anybody know?
Well, Lisa, would you get that information and we'll have it for the next meeting?
Because the information I got was it wasn't paid.
I think that's what Commissioner Talby said, and that's what you've just confirmed. All of it hasn't been paid.
Okay.
There'll be a complete record made, which is similar to what you have just said.
Okay.
We've sent letters out asking people to pay, and we're giving them a reasonable time to pay before the end of the year, but it doesn't appear that that money's going to come in before the end of the year.
Well, then I think that they shouldn't be allowed to bid in the future unless they pay.
We don't
And
even-
not only that, there should be attempts made to collect that money, in my opinion.
Well,
I didn't mean to cut you off.
I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
That if they don't pay, there should be either attempts to pay or there should be a resolution. And I totally agree, if we were to go out to bid again, that there should be some consideration to your request. But it hasn't even been determined that they're going to go out to bid again. I think the contract's up sometime in February.
Right.
At this point, we'll probably be recommending that the signs come down sometime after the contract's up, whether or not they pay or they don't pay, and then the commission will make that decision.
All right, if they do, if it's going to go out again for bid, maybe consider, it's 6 years now, maybe it should be, the price should be increased for the signage.
Steve, I think there will be a discussion whether we will even advertise again. So we have to
Okay,
go across
okay.
each page again.
All right,
Okay.
all right, thank you.
Anyone else? The motion to close public comment.
I make the motion.
Second.
Mr. Becker?
Yes.
Mr. Blumberg?
Yes.
Mr. Talby?
Is
Yes.
there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I make that motion?
Second.
Mr. Becker?
Yes.
Mr. Blumberg?
Yes.
Mr. Talby?
Yes.
We will reconvene 5.